Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. We've got a very interesting battle today submitted by ICStarz, where he leads the Vampire Counts into battle against Sobislaw's Bretonnia. The Vampire Counts have the Red Duke in charge alongside a Banshee, 2 units of Skeleton Warriors, one ranked up to rank 1, 2 units of Skeleton Spearmen, and the Sternsmen forming the main line. The relatively weak infantry provides a good cost-efficient response to foot squires, and that was probably the intent here. Then we've got Varix Reavers for some anti-infantry cavalry support, and the Blood Knights for some very effective anti-large support. 3 units of Crypt Horrors bring poison to the battlefield, and the Claw of Nagash brings frontline support in the form of regeneration for nearby units, damage to nearby enemy units, and of course, some help in regenerating Winds of Magic. Bretonnia comes to battle with the Fey Enchantress in charge, alongside 2 units of men-at-arms with polearms for anti-large support. This is a great call for dealing with Blood Knights. Then we've got a Grail Reliquae to combat Fear and Terror, alongside 4 units of Foot Squires. 2 units of Peasant Bowmen provide range support, but I strongly suggest taking fire arrows against the Vampire Counts because of the high chance of them fielding units with regeneration. Then we've got 2 units of Knights of the Realm, a unit of Questing Knights, and 5 units of Mounted Yeoman Archers, 4 of which are ranked up to rank 1. Alright, we're going to pause for the conversation about deployment here because it does get pretty interesting, well, almost instantaneously. So first let's talk about the Vampire Counts. We've got pretty standard deployment here for the bulk of the army. The Skeleton Spearmen form the flank on the front line, and then the Skeleton Warriors form the center. Right behind them we have the Banshee, the Claw of Nagash, and the Sternsmen, and these guys are able to dive in wherever necessary to provide some extra support. Finally, all the way at the back here, the 3 units of Crypt Horrors. These guys can, again, punch through wherever needed. They can also come in from the flanks, bringing in their poison and their armor-piercing support. Off in the woods here, hidden, tucked away, we've got the Red Duke as well as Varix Reavers and the Blood Knights. So I think the hope was that the engagement would take place somewhere over here perhaps, or over here, and the cavalry would be able to come in and get some rear charges in or get some flanking moves in. But evidently Bretonnia had something else in mind. So let's take a look at the bulk of the Bretonnian forces first. Again, a pretty standard deployment here. We've got the Foot Squires forming the front line, and then we've got the men-at-arms with polearms on either flank, slightly to the rear, again, to prevent any side charges, flanking maneuvers, rear charges from enemy large units. Now in the center and the rear, we've got the Peasant Bowmen as well, of course providing range support, and the Grail Reliquae on the Fey Enchantress right in the middle here. The Grail Reliquae, of course, able to provide psychological support to units within this region here. So great placement there, and this is where it gets interesting. We've got the bulk, or rather the entirety of the cavalry off to the side here, the melee cavalry off to the side here. We've got the Questing Knights, as well as the Knights of the Realm. Tucked away in the woods, they are hidden, and as you saw earlier, as you surely noticed, Mounted Yeoman Archers scattered along the front in their vanguard deployment, making sure that no matter where the Vampire Counts deployed, they were able to get engaged right away. So, without further ado, we're going to push into the action here, and you'll see instantly the Mounted Yeoman Archers, they do open fire on the Vampire Count. So you'll see some initial shots do go off, some initial volleys, hitting some units at random. I'm pretty sure those weren't controlled shots, and instantly the Vampire Counts do have to push up because they need to engage. They're sort of on the back foot here. Now you'll notice off to the side here, as this unit of Mounted Yeoman Archers do push through, I don't know if this was patience or negligence. I'm going to say it was patience. But as these Mounted Yeoman Archers push through, you'll see these guys aren't actually pushed in to engage, and that's a good call, because if these units were pushed in to engage, the Mounted Yeoman Archers would just pull away into safety, and there would be no harm done. Instead, waiting for them to push in and engage allows these cavalry units to come in from the rear and sort of create a sort of a cup here and prevent any escape from happening. So I'm guessing that was actually patience at play here. Good move, trying to make sure these guys engage first so they can be taken care of. But in the meanwhile, you'll notice a lot of focus fire going down, some great targeting here. Good job focusing down on the Claw of Nagash. That is a very dangerous unit if kept alive, especially when lines meet, because of its sort of trickle damage capabilities and the fact that it can support the Vampire Count front lines and keeping it alive. Some great kiting as well, as you can see, pulling back. Now a little bit of a mistake here, or a misstep here. The Crypt Horrors should have been kept back for a little bit longer. Because they pushed in so early, you'll see the Mounted Yeoman Archers are being pulled back early, and these cavalry units aren't able to get into position in order to cut them off. So a little bit too trigger happy there. If they just stayed back for a little bit longer, this would have worked out much better, and these 2 units of Mounted Yeoman Archers would have been shut down. Now you'll notice as these guys push forward, a little bit of mis-targeting here. This unit of Mounted Yeoman Archers focusing down on the Banshee. Bad call. There's very little chance of decent damage being done there, so that was a bad call. Now they're being forced to pull back as these Crypt Horrors come in, and you'll see these 2 Mounted Yeoman Archers now focusing down on these Crypt Horrors, That's not as bad, but again, the Claw of Nagash, that's the primary target. That was a great first call, but unfortunately just ignored now. And you'll see these 2 units of mounted yeoman archers opening fire on these skeleton spearmen, doing a lot of damage there. These guys are already at 50% health without the front lines even coming close to engaging. But again, I think I'll try and make this the last time I say it. The Claw of Nagash was the ideal target for that early aggression. Now over here, a bit of a mistake from Bretonnia. These questing knights and the Knights of the Realm are staying back there. They should have been pushed forward, and in fact, right now was a great chance to engage these 2 units. And yes, there are some spearmen in there, but diving in with these 3 units could have crushed them. These guys potentially could have been made to crumble, and the skeleton warriors could have been pretty handily hurt as well. So these guys should have been sent in, causing a lot of damage to the vampire count front lines before lines even meet. Now you'll notice over here, Bretonnia was adjusting a little bit, pushing its lines up, maintaining its formation, but changing its sort of angle of approach. And over here, these crypt horrors sort of pushing away as these mounted yeoman archers continue to open fire. And now the peasant bowmen are able to open fire onto these crypt horrors, and you'll see doing a lot of damage. And back here, these mounted yeoman archers finally deciding the Claw of Nagash, yes, is the prime target, opening fire there, and you'll see again. So these crypt horrors taking a decent amount of damage from the peasant bowmen, these crypt horrors taking a decent amount of damage from these mounted yeoman archers, and the peasant bowmen in fact start to crossfire, trying to spread the love, trying to cause a decent amount of damage to both of these units, and you'll see before lines meet, already brought down to 50% health, wavering already, not really willing or wanting to fight, and as the front lines do collide, you'll see some counter charges going down from the foot squires just to get a little bit of that charge bonus in there, may as well, and you'll see these guys already start to crumble almost instantaneously. It's a great use of range support there, and you'll see Invocation of Nehek does go down there just to try and keep these crypt horrors alive, but that is far too little, far too late. Meanwhile, a couple of very interesting things going on here. You'll notice as these units continue to push forward, these mounted yeoman archers continue to fire into these skeleton warriors just to try and destroy them before lines even meet. And meanwhile, off to the side here, you'll see Varric's Reavers and the Blood Knights and the Red Duke. They want to come around and into the peasant bowmen just to make sure that the men-at-arms with polearms aren't able to give chase. This Raised Dead is cast, absolutely wonderfully done. Those zombies are going to pin these men-at-arms in place, allowing the cavalry to come around and into the rears of these peasant bowmen. Absolutely great play there, making sure that these men-at-arms with polearms aren't able to fully respond to this aggression, and you'll see those peasant bowmen get shut down instantaneously, and these peasant bowmen as well not able to continue firing. Meanwhile, you'll see the Fey Enchantress over here doing a lot of hurt to the Banshee. Of course, she does do magical damage. The Banshee is not safe there, needs to be pulled out, and over here an Awakening of the Wood does go down. Now, I'm pretty sure that was cast just for its healing properties, but really there were some better targets. It would have been much better cast over here or over here just to cause some damage as well, but I understand out of desperation, just to get a little bit of that healing in from Life Bloom, that decision was probably made very hastily. You'll notice as well the Claw of Nagash is still alive as it punctures into the front lines, and it's able to now provide some serious support to the vampire counts, both in the regenerative sense and to cause some trickle damage to the enemy. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see the skeleton spearmen and the skeleton warriors that were being harassed by these 2 mounted yeoman archers, a little upset maybe at the arrow fire, decide to give chase, obviously not able to catch them, just eat a lot of fire as these guys retreat and kite, so a lot of damage done there as well. These guys really should have just been sent in to engage right from the get-go. Meanwhile, you'll see finally the Bretonnian cavalry is kicking into action, diving in to the fray. It'll take them some time to get there, but once they do get there, they will bring some serious devastation. Over here, meanwhile, you'll notice the Grail Reliquae is being targeted by the Red Duke, and that is a great move. You want to shut down and kill that Grail Reliquae as early as possible and prevent that psychological support from, well, sticking around. So great move there, focusing down, and you'll see the Red Duke is causing a lot of damage. And also, 2 spells go down concurrently. You'll see the Invocation of Nehek as well as Earthblood go down just to try and keep units alive from both sides of the field. And over here, you'll see the Skeleton Warriors and the Skeleton Spearmen dive in from the flank, causing a lot of fear and damage among the foot squires. And you'll see as the Grail Reliquae falls, that psychological support is more or less, well, it is instantly taken care of, and you'll see morale drops, and this entire flank is going to give up. Meanwhile, the mounted yeoman archers, as you can see, are opening fire from a distance into the Claw of Nagash again, trying to shut it down, trying to destroy it and prevent its support from coming in. But meanwhile, on the left flank here, as the cavalry has finally come charging in, you'll see these guys are beginning to crumble. The skeleton spearmen and the skeleton warriors are beginning to crumble, and over here in the center as well, the Knights of the Realm pushing in, engaging Varric's Reavers, trying to shut them down as quickly as possible, trying to get rid of them and and well, get some sort of cavalry superiority on the battlefield. Again, over here, the Crypt Horrors as well, dropping very quickly with the Questing Knights having come in now, and the Mounted Yeoman Archers continue to trickle fire down onto the Claw of Nagash. And again, as I mentioned, with the Grail Reliquate taken care of, just take a look at what's happened to the right flank as seen from the Vampire Count's perspective. Just take a look at that. These guys are all giving up. Now, these guys had shattered earlier, to be fair, but the Foot Squires here, they're winded, they're wavering, and they're willing to give up. Over here, these Foot Squires are giving up, these men-at-arms with polearms are giving up. All these units are surrendering and shattered because fear and terror is now able to come into play. So great move there, focusing on that Grail Reliquate nice and early, treating it like the high-value target that it really is. And you'll see over here as well, the Knights of the Realm suffering quite a bit of damage as well, so pulling away, getting healed up a little bit before being sent back into the fray. And again, the Claw of Nagash just able to keep itself alive, Invocation of Nehek helping as well. But over here, these guys are falling apart, crumbling very quickly, ready to give up, ready to just disappear and disintegrate into death. And over here again, Bretonnia makes a very crucial mistake. These guys just a little too relaxed. They need to be sent in right away, and of course it is a high tension situation, managing what the Mounted Yeoman Archers are firing at, managing the ordeal over here, especially since with this flank lost, the Vampire Counts are able to just push in with the entirety of their army. And you'll see as well the Fey Enchantress now being attacked by the Red Duke and the Banshee, so she's very frightened as well. She wants to get out of there, so yes, a very tense situation, but really this is very, very bad negligence, because if these guys had been in, the Vampire Counts could have been fully surrounded very, very quickly. You'll see the Mounted Yeoman Archers continue to open fire, and finally, in just a moment, you'll see the Claw of Nagash does explode and get destroyed. The Blood Knights try to dive in there and help the Crypt Horrors and the Skeleton Warriors and Spearmen here against the Questing Knights. They do cause a decent amount of damage. They get that charge in. The Knights of the Realm as well, taking a decent amount of damage. So these guys do actually have to pull back and get away from Varix Reavers and the Blood Knights, and that's exactly what they do. But you'll see the Vampire Counts are suffering quite handily. A lot of these flashing symbols here, they are not willing to fight for much longer, really, and you'll see all these units now have been pulled in as well, and they are being pulled down from up there as well, so trying to get that surround going. And the Mounted Yeoman Archers, you will see, largely are out of ammunition now. A lot of them have just a handful of volleys left, some of them are just fully out of ammunition, so that really says two things. One, it says Bretonnia did very well in keeping its Mounted Yeoman Archers alive and really at full health all the way up until just now, allowing them to open fire, kiting and using those arrows really well. But it also says that the Vampire Counts did a poor job of shutting them down. If Varix Reavers and the Blood Knights were just kept chasing them and away from the Vampire Count infantry at the beginning of the battle, these guys could have been shut down or at least been made less efficient. But we are here now, and you'll notice a lot of the peasants are surrendering. Over here, the Fey Enchantress is running away. She doesn't want to stay and fight, and of course that doesn't instill much confidence, and you'll see all these Mounted Yeoman Archers now can dive into melee. They're not ideal there, of course, but that's all they can do, so they dive into melee around these Skeleton Spearmen and these Skeleton Warriors, instantly disintegrating these Skeleton Spearmen and these Skeleton Warriors as well, taking a lot of damage, especially with these Foot Squires on their case as well. The Knights of the Realm coming from the rear as well, just to shut that down. Meanwhile, over here, these peasant bowmen do get routed off with the cavalry, the Banshee, and the Red Duke coming in while chasing the Fey Enchantress, and she's not having a good day either. She's taken a lot of damage to her health. The Mounted Yeoman Archers trying to take some attention away, but not really able to. The Vampire Counts focusing down, wanting to kill the Fey Enchantress. And up here, you'll notice all that's left of the Vampire Count army are the Stearnsmen. So that's definitely a rough spot to be in. And over here, you'll see these zombies do get raised just to prevent that charge from coming in, and these zombies are able to hold back the Mounted Yeoman Archers. And more importantly, with the Banshee there, these guys are fleeing because of terror. And terror is going to play a very big role now, because, of course, the Vampire Counts are severely outnumbered, and in many cases, all hope would be lost. But with the Banshee there, ethereal as she is, able to take a lot of damage, also to cause terror, and with the Red Duke there as well, able to raise dead, as you saw here, in a very strategic manner, trying to prevent that charge from coming in. So very good play there, and you'll see these Mounted Yeoman Archers just giving up. They're not meant for this kind of use. They're not willing to stay and fight, so they don't really stay for that long before running away. And up here, the Stearnsmen still sticking around and fighting. They are crumbling, They're not doing well in terms of their leadership, but they are the Sternsmen, and they can last quite well in melee. So what would have been better to do with the mounted yeoman archers is actually send them in here for a rear charge, maybe try and convert that crumbling into a disintegration. So these mounted yeoman archers, even without their ammo, had a better use. Yes, I understand why you'd want to charge in and try and shut down the Red Duke and the Banshee as soon as possible, but really this is where they could have made a real difference in killing off those the Sternsmen. Now you'll notice Undeath Resurgent did go down as well over here, providing some melee defense and some leadership to these guys, trying to keep them alive from the questing knights and the Knights of the Realm that are over here. Of course, those are actually a threat, unlike the mounted yeoman archers, but even they are no match for the terror caused by literally fighting a ghost. So the Knights of the Realm on their way out, the questing knights on their way out as well, and up here, meanwhile, you'll see the Sternsmen continue to kill and slaughter. They've got 109 kills to their name, fully surrounded by the foot squires and the men-at-arms with polearms, but they're able to survive. And you'll see over here the Red Duke as well as the Banshee able to hold their own as well, of course. The zombies, very much a fodder troop, but still providing some really essential support, sort of providing a buffer for some of these charges and really absorbing a lot of the damage as well. Meanwhile, up here, the Graveguard have finally fallen. The Sternsmen, sorry, they've finally fallen. And over here, the foot squires have decided to shatter it, and they're on their way out. The zombies have fallen as well, and now it is really important to form up again. Mounted yeoman archers aren't meant for melee combat, and that is the bulk of the army here. Most of Bretonnia's mass right now is made up of mounted yeoman archers, and those guys can rout and shatter instantaneously. And we all know when the majority of the army is routing and shattered, that trickles down to the rest of the army. That's how a mass rout happens. So these guys need to be pulled back into some safety, form up, and then prepare to deal with the Banshee and the Red Duke, of course. And just look at the mayhem caused here. A lot of death and devastation, of course, but these two guys are going to stick around, and they're going to fight to the very end, of course. Now, the Red Duke chasing out some of these Knights of the Realm, trying to get them to run off the battlefield. It's right at the edge here. These mounted yeoman archers still willing to fight, still coming back, and you'll see Bretonnia does try to reform, try to pull back some of these units and provide, protection to the flanks, do whatever is necessary to try and keep these guys willing to fight. But of course, this is relatively threatening. I mean, the Banshee and the Red Duke, they might seem like negligible forces, but they are very capable melee fighters, and you'll see here a crucial mistake. Charging in with the men-at-arms with polearms, one at a time, that's not a good idea, and of course everyone comes in for the full surround, trying to do as much damage as possible. Now, ultimately, the Banshee does start to suffer from the surround, does start to get a little frightened of the situation as soon as some of these, there we go, as soon as the surround continues, you'll notice she does start to lose a lot of her morale, but the Red Duke is in there, and he's fighting. They're both very good at melee. Fortunately here, the Banshee's being pulled away, so the Red Duke is fully surrounded, but he's doing a lot of damage. These mounted yeoman archers are useless here. They're eating a lot of hurt, they're getting very scared, and of course terror as well is going to come into play from the Banshee. You'll see she's actually willing to fight now as the melee continues, and she begins to actually win her melee. Terror kicks in, these mounted yeoman archers are on their way out, as are all these questing knights, foot squires. No one's willing to fight anymore. Everyone is routing, everyone is shattering, and there you have it. A full shatter and a Pyrrhic victory for the Vampire Counts. A very interesting play by Bretonnia was unfortunately just not rewarded at the end of the day. The mounted yeoman archers performed quite well, but the rather relaxed behavior from the Knights of the Realm and the questing knights early on may have been what led to Bretonnia's ultimate defeat. Some great use of terror by the Vampire Counts, and shutting the Grail Relicate down nice and early was tremendously helpful, ultimately proving that in the face of the Red Duke and a Banshee, even a Bretonnian knight can be craven. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and keep sending in your battle replays. I think it's a great way to learn, and it's great to highlight various battles from the community. It's nice to see how other commanders are leading their armies. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.